Hey, welcome to Select Arcane. Canada is full of influential and important model horse hobbyists. Some you may have heard of, but others have built up the Canadian hobby in the background. As part of the Canadian Model Horse History series together with Diana McDonald, we're bringing you the full interviews straight from the horse's mouth. So we present to you third generation hobbyist, the Canadian sweetheart of swing, and the ultimate performance queen, Alex Parker.
Ooh, it's
I
recording.
know, right?
Whenever my phone rings, this very annoying ringtone comes on that I made. I made a particularly irritating custom ringtone to make me get out of bed. But now, whenever my phone rings, I'm like, what have I pressed? That it's the default tone.
You can definitely change that. You can definitely have
I
one
know.
tone for wake up and one
I
tone for
know.
call.
I just don't. I'm just like so tired of screens by the end of the day that I don't really want to go into the guts of a phone to figure out how to do that. And anyways, but yeah.
Okay. So we have a series of questions, and from what you said, so you started in 1990, 81, correct? 91?
I mean, I think my first letter from Bobby with my first registrations with the Canadian Model Club and Registry was dated 1991.
So that would,
But
so
yeah,
would that would automatically put you as a third generation, correct?
well, I certainly wasn't first generation, that's for sure. I mean, up until that point, I'd just been, playing with horses on, the carpet, like toy horses. But definitely there were girls ahead of me preceding the hobby. Yeah.
Actually, judging by the dates, you're technically second generation. So
So
that
so what is the date that you have for the start of
so
all this madness?
all right. So, from what we gather, the hobby officially, the birth of the hobby officially starts in the 1950s. And that's the start of Briar. That's kind of the start of the first mail-ins, the first discussion that there is a hobby, and
Right.
then it kind of transitions. That's all the mail-ins. That's only talking, that's snail mail, but
Right.
nothing actually really happens. Like there's no live shows at this point. There's
It was just a
no
clock and is there a catalog even?
there was a catalog, so people were ordering from the catalogs, like a Simpson Sears catalog and like Wish books, and that
Right.
continues on until the end of the 70s. So
Okay.
so 50s to end of 70s, that's first gen. Then
Okay.
second gen is uh 1980 to 1999, so that makes you second gen.
Second gen. Yep.
Then it goes 2000 to 2011, and fourth
Mm.
gen is 2000, or sorry, 2010. Then 2011 until today is fourth gen. However, as Diana and I were dissecting things, it appears that we might now be in the fifth generation officially.
So why did it go from being sort of like larger into like shorter intervals, like that distance?
Well, it's from what we're finding, it seems to be that because as time progressed, technology started getting faster and faster, and communication started getting faster and faster,
Right.
meaning that there started to be more big things happening in a shorter amount of time. So first gen you have the start, then second gen you have the birth of live shows in
Right.
1990, and not really the late 80s, but 1990. That's the first Briar Fest. Then you start having this huge wave of Facebook groups and
Yes.
online
Yeah.
communication, which
So it's exponentially
yeah,
expanding and
exactly. So
drawing in
that
more
starts
people.
in third gen, and now in fourth gen we have 3D printing and all this other
Okay.
stuff. So
Yep. Okay. Fair enough.
so to officially start, I'm going to ask some questions, and then you can answer them, and then you can tangent as much as you like in between, because then I'll clean everything up. So that means, but because you're technically second gen, that means you officially go in episode two. because now we have 4 episodes.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, so if you could please introduce yourself and how long have you been collecting for?
All right. My name is Alex Pangman. In the hobby, I'm Alex Parker, and I have been collecting model horses since probably the late 1980s when I was a carpet kid with my Barbie horses. Yeah, and I wanted to collect every single model horse that I knew about. This meant whatever stores had the Barbie horses. My dad would take me to antique toy sales, and I was grabbing Mark's horses or Johnny West horses and Britain's soldiers. And I was crazy cuckoo for toy horses.
So, what first got you interested in model horses, and who introduced you, or did you kind of find it organically through the catalogs and the toys?
I think I was first introduced to modeling by my father because he had collected Britain's toy soldiers and cavalry horses when he was a boy. And as he grew older, he would get miniatures and paint them. He would paint entire regiments, entire cavalry charges. So part of what we would do is go down in the basement. He would have his set of testers paints, and then any of the horses, because he used to do mail order models too of these toy soldiers would come across from France or something. And occasionally they'd send sort of a crummy looking cast of one, and I would get the offshoot. And he'd say, here, this one looks like, a second, you paint it. And so again, on the carpet with my dad, sitting painting toy horses while he, worked on dappling his, charge of the Light Brigade. And then at some point, it was either in the Horse Sport magazine or maybe somebody gave me a copy of the Breyer magazine, just about horses. I saw an ad for the Canadian Model Club and Registry. And that's when I first discovered, traditional sized Breyer horses. I'm probably going to say that was about 1989 or 88. Yeah.
So, when you were officially in, what did you start with in your collection? What brands?
Oh, that's a very good question. It was a bit hodgepodgey. I think I started out with, so I didn't take very many pictures of my Barbie horses, but they are what I started with. So there are some pictures of them, some Cindy horses. And then we went on my first time to America, to Florida. And I remember being on the floor, again, I'm always on the floor, of a department store somewhere in Florida, probably because they had air conditioning. And I was looking at Breyer horses and freaking out and having to decide which one do I get? And I think I got like a Proud Arabian. I know it was a Proud Arabian foal. So that was the first show photograph I ever took, was of that Proud Arabian foal that we brought back from our big trip to Florida. And then yeah, it just sort of expanded from there, and I realized that I needed to sort of, choose a scale, right? Because I had like tack that fit this horse and that horse and the tiny horses for my dad. So that's about the time that I got that PAF, was when I thought I better stick to trad. And then I just started collecting Breyers, and so you start seeing mostly them in my pictures as of like 1990, 91.
So, after you get your PAF, how did you get more Breyers? Did you have to like mail order them, import them? Where did you get them from?
Oh my goodness. I can't remember what I had for breakfast. You're asking me to clear the cobwebs. All right. So after I got that first model down in Florida in the department store, I think it was one of those things. I know I got a couple. I stayed at the sick kids hospital, and they had one Breyer in the playroom, and I think we arranged like to purchase that horse because it was the thing that kept me going when I was in sick kids hospital. Then it's a really good question. Where did they come from? I know that Bar Saddlery in Hornby began having Briars. Definitely some were coming from there. But also in the Canadian Model Express, one of the things that I really loved, and that came out every 2 months, the newsletter would come and there'd be show adverts and some, little articles, but there were sales lists. And I was, in the expanding part of my collection. So I always would skim through these sales lists. And, this meant in the second generation of model hobbyists that you wrote a letter to the person and said, hey, Tanis, I noticed that you have a model horse. Is it still for sale? If so, could I please purchase it? And then she might write back and say yes. At which point you sent a check for the horse. And then she eventually would mail it to you. So I seemed to get them that way. And then eventually I started going to a couple of live shows. And then that was just, you could just, mainline those horses. You could buy them from people in person. And so it began to get out of hand around that time.
Oh gosh. Okay.
It was so much faster.
So retailers like bars and other distributors, how did they play a significant role in the hobby around that time?
That's a good question. I mean, how did they play a role? Well, I think certainly most little girls that take riding lessons probably dream of owning one horse, but suddenly, I mean, they're banking on the parents not being able to give in to the child, just like, please, 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 please. They certainly made them available to us. I mean, and you could occasionally, I believe, find them like at a department store too, but nobody's really catering to the hobby as you and I know it today in retail stores.
So you didn't experience at that time, like in those early days, the retailers around us, they didn't hold like painting days or model horse exhibition days. That
Correct.
that
Not
seemed to be a
here.
thing out west.
I was going to say not in Ontario. I know that was done elsewhere, but it was pretty sort of hands off. Hang on a second. Turn off my alarm. It was pretty hands off, if I'm honest. It was just sort of, they just want you to buy the horse. And eventually they would do things like they would get props or dolls. But there wasn't any cohesiveness to it. It was just, toy horses. And so that's why I was really reliant on the Canadian Model Club and Registry and that magazine, the Canadian Model Express, because it did sort of provide a framework. What are we all doing here? Who are we? We're all across the country. Wow. And then this uniting thing that I wasn't finding when I went to Toys R Us. I'd be lucky if I found a Brer,
So
let alone a painting party.
So in those early days, you were doing kind of the mailing back and forth with the registry. And
Mhm.
how was your relationship with that? Like, what did you focus on more? Did you do the pedigree breed sheets and kind of mailing those back and forth, or did that come? What did that kind of like fall out of fashion in your time? And people kind of were doing that before and then they stopped, or was it carrying on? Uh,
Um, Yeah, it was not my focus to do sire dam lists. I did try it. I just didn't find it that engaging, and maybe it didn't pique that point of interest for me. Neither did I really understand. I know some people were doing model racing, which I didn't really understand how that worked. I was what interested me most was learning about horses, learning about their breeds, and this wonderful uh, the customized horses, which back then were RRH. It's like, it's an RRH. Oh no, it's just an RH. Oh, it's just an R. Like this repaint, remake, rehair really interested me, probably because my dad was always there with paintbrushes, right? That seemed to really interest me. The sire dam lists, I know some people really went in for that, but I could have, I didn't. I just didn't. It didn't interest me.
And can you explain how the mail order shows worked? Like, because you were a big shower back in the day, right? Like with
Yeah.
those mail orders. So how did that work?
So mail-in photo shows, it's funny. I actually have a photograph, like when the club switched, stopped doing the thing. It was just okay. Let me start that again. So mail-in model horse shows, photo shows. I used to love judging them, and entering them was quite a lot of work. So not only did you have to take all your pictures, but on the back of your photo, you had to, you know, put labels with the name of the horse and your classes entered and your address had to be written on every single photograph. You added those all up, you put them in careful envelopes, you told the judge how many photos you had sent, you carefully hid your entry fee, which might have been $1, might have been $2, depending on the year, in your envelope. You made a self-addressed stamped envelope. You kind of overestimated how much it might cost coming home because some judges, some shows had, 6 or 8 pieces of paper with the results printed out on them. And you sent that away ideally about 3 weeks in advance. That you waited for the judge to, judge, send all your pictures back, and then you would just basically stalk your mailman. I did a lot of stalking the mailman. It's like, does he have my Canadian Model Express? Are my show pictures back? And there was this glee and excitement that I don't feel now at horse shows. It was this whole like, it's coming in the mail. Like even some of my photographs I sent off to be developed somewhere else. So if I wasn't waiting for the show photos, I was actually literally waiting for the prints to be delivered to my house. So there's this whole love affair with the Canada Post steps on the front porch that I miss. And I miss the anticipation because now you're like, oh, results, click PDF. Okay, great, cool. So I really loved that part of it. But yeah, it took an awfully long time. It was, maybe your pictures would be away for a month. And it was expensive. Lots of trips to the post office to measure your packages, lots of stamps. Yeah, it was crazy. I can see how the hobby has changed and is much more affordable.
So when you got into the hobby, who was your first point of contact with a hobbyist, and how did you connect with that person, and how did you figure out from there that, oh my God, there is this huge open world of model horses, like with real collectors?
Right. Well, the first point within the greater Canadian scene was with the editor of the Canadian Model Express, Mary Ann Dalton. And Marianne, she felt like a pen pal, with every magazine she'd send you a handwritten note. Next was Bobby, who's the president, Mosiman. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
Mossaman.
Well, it was weird because I heard her say her name on your show there. And I was like, that's not how I've been saying it in my head for 25 years. Anyways, the next person within the Canadian scene that I was a touchstone for me was Bobby. She also lovely handwriting, and she would write these cursive letters and your registration numbers and encourage you and stuff. And then there was a live show in Guelph, and Stephanie Robson was involved with putting it on, and it was my first live show, and that's when I saw the big girls. People showing model horses from America, horses that had been to Briarfest. Stephanie was one of the first people who talked about, this horse on this table. It's got some serious conformation flaws. For example, it's got bowed tendons. It couldn't actually be this. This artist has pulled this leg out of position. This hip looks broken. Like, she was one of the first people that talked about locomotion and conformation. And so at that point, and I saw all the big girls, right? The girls that had beautiful setups then in Guelph. And I think that was about 1992. And I realized that I was not alone in Mississauga, and I went down to the Raven Arts live show. I think it was in Buffalo or thereabouts 2 or 3 times. Got the novice trophy with my horse from the Sears catalog. But just realizing that you aren't alone and actually having, in-person hobby time with people is huge, right? You just don't feel alone and you feel part of something.
So we've had that Guelph show kind of pop up in our research a few times, but we can't find much information about it other than Steph Robson may or may not be a barrel racer living kind of up north now.
Hmm.
So was that show actually at the University of Guelph? And do you know how that was held? And was that the only show in Ontario at the time?
I don't think it was at the university. I think I would have I would have remembered if it was on a campus, or would I? That was so long ago. Um, I just remember it being a big, bright hall. Yeah, well, I do intend to get into my I have a little closet with some model things at my mom's house. I keep it. I want to get in there this summer and see if I can unearth anything for you. I really don't remember the venue. It was a big, bright space. I suppose it could have been a school. I just don't remember it being a university.
Oh, that's okay.
Um, yeah, so a couple other people have mentioned it. It seemed to me like the only act in town, and unless you went over the border, right?
All right. Um, so what's your most memorable story or memory from your early days of a model horse collector?
Oh, memorable days? Well, I thought it was pretty special when I won the trophy at the Raven Arts Classic. I still have it in my model display case because I've never won a trophy since. Really memorable. See, that's not true. I think I must have won another trophy, but my most memorable days in the hobby surround being at live shows with model horse friends. I really enjoyed going to the Maritime Madness live shows. I went to 2 or 3 of those on the East Coast, um, partly because it's just such a pastoral scene. But I remember we all went riding afterwards. That was really nice. But, just like hearing your friends talk, like Debbie from PEI was always singing. I remember those things. So, yes, it's about the horses, but it's also about the people that you meet along the way. Like, I don't know I mean, sort of a landmark moment was my mom won. There was a silent auction at some live show, and mom entered, and I won this beautiful Lee Francis custom. This beautiful horse. That was the first really nice thing I had in my collection, and that was sort of pivotal for me because it meant no, you don't have to just have carpet toys. You can have beautiful beautiful horses that have been completed by an artist. So I'd say that was kind of pivotal because it showed me that there was something more to the hobby than just toys.
Um, so since the 80s and 90s, how do you think the hobby has changed since then? And how is it different than when you started?
I think it's become more sophisticated. The horses, there's so much more variety. Breyer isn't the only thing in town, right? The availability of artist resins is pretty inspiring. Um, the artistic level, I think, has gone through the roof, as have the prices. A conversation that you and I might have had. Um, and it just seems that perhaps in many ways this means that our tack is our tack almost looks like a brand new CWD saddle. Like I remember we had the saddle fitter out and I'm like, look at this picture on my phone. And he's like, which of our saddles is that? Like it for a second, the guy who sells CWD saddles looked at somebody either Russian had done like a CWD, and he for a moment he thought it was one of their saddles. And so I think the artistic thing is way through the roof. We're such great artisans now, but I'm not sure that we're all doing it for the same reasons that I did when I was a kid on the carpet with toys. Like sometimes I think, are we collecting these things to win prizes? Or what are we collecting these for? For the camaraderie? Because it seems like there's a lot of angry people online who are having fights with each other over toy horses. So I think parts of the hobby are better now, and I think parts of them are unattainable now. I'm starting to just collect things because I like them, not because I know you're not getting a soundbite here, but I'm frustrated by the fact that the things that I'd like, I can't really afford. I can't afford to have a horse that wins at Nan because I have other bills. And just, you and I mentioned offline about like how the people in the real horse show ring, like living horse show ring, it just seems like it's Bruce Springsteen's daughter that can afford the nicest horse. And the same kind of pertains. It's like the Americans with the most money or the people with the most money can have the horses that win the most because it's just unattainably expensive. Yeah. So yes, the art is much better now, but it's a little discouraging. Are you collecting to win things? I'm starting to think I should just collect things because I like the way they look and I can afford them.
No, that's completely fair because it is like I feel the same way. Like I paid $500 for a Nikki button 10 years ago, and I try to buy a Nikki button from directly from her, just like how I did before. 10 years later, and that $500 is now $3,500 US, of course. And
Ooh.
it's like, geez, like inflation hasn't gone up that much, right? But still.
And also, I agree that if an artist is in demand and an artist is putting, the skill of a lifetime into a work of art, that they should, if they can ask that person and get it, they should, right? But I just can't afford it. It's prohibitive. It's like that's a big change in price.
Yeah. Um, so do you think there have been any uniquely Canadian contributions to the model horse hobby, like Canadian themed models, shows, or publications?
Uniquely Canadian. Well, I think Breyer has been. They've done a. They've done a little bit for Canada. Their Big Ben was very nice that they did a portrait model of Big Ben. Also on that same mold, they did the RCMP horse with the maple leaf watermark on its bum. But, for instance, there have been some racehorses, founding famous racehorses from Canada that it took a really long time to get their attention to make models of. So Breyer, you haven't really done that much. Uniquely Canadian people up north. Well, we have had some and have some amazing equine artists like Michelle Grant and Karen Baywall. There was one woman named Judith Fransky from out west, and she used to flock horses. And it was something that nobody else seemed to be doing. And I thought that was pretty unique. And then she would photograph them with the backdrop of the Rockies. That seemed to me quite beautifully Canadian expression of our hobby, right? Tierney Reed did a great magazine that didn't last too long. She also did some curio scale resins for a while. There have been some really good Canadian painters as well. And of course, the Canadian Model Express. That magazine is so it's absolutely Canadian. Yes, we talk about American Breyer horses, but so Canadian, so Canadian.
Um, so so since when you started, what role has online networking played in the Canadian model horse community, especially compared to those pre-internet days?
The internet has really sped up how quickly we can communicate, how easy it is to share information if you have a live show, if you have a horse for sale, if you saw a cool video, like one of your videos that you want to share with your friends, do it on Facebook, and within 25 seconds, it's shared across the nation. It kind of makes you wonder, like, what do we need things like magazines? I'm like I'm very old fashioned analog. I still love having a magazine in my hand, but I realize that in the modern age uh, we can reach far more people and younger people, because like with anything, there's attrition as older people either die off sadly or just find careers and get out of the hobby. So we always need young people, and so the internet is a great way to bring young people into the hobby, and it's just so immediate, right? If you want to, it, when I when I think about how long it took to negotiate the sale of a model horse in 1995, several letters and a check sent across the country, and it's so much faster and so much more immediate. And let's face it, people's attention spans are just not what they used to be. That said, I do know that the move to an online hobby has been difficult for some of the first and second generations of us, people that aren't great with computers, that maybe had vision problems, that they didn't have fast internet because they lived in the country. So that has been a bit of a hurdle for some people, and I think we've probably lost 2 or 3 people from the hobby because of it, which is sad because I love those people. But I think we've just been introduced to so many more hobbyists with the internet. The internet.
That's something that I didn't really like consider. Like, I'm in that era of being the last generation that's analog and then going digital. So
Mm.
I remember those days, but at the same time, I didn't really consider, especially when talking to Diana about this, that we've lost people along the way who may have had dial up or may have
Mm.
lost the connection because first and second gen was forced to travel the distance and forced to pay the postage to send letters. And
Mhm.
if you wanted to be
Yeah.
part of the hobby, you had to make the effort. And if
Yeah.
and then those people stopped making the effort because it's so effortless to be on a computer. But if you don't have access to a network, too bad. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I have one friend for whom that was a problem, the distance. For her, she had to take she lived in the country and it was a thing for her to go into the store the Canada Post to sell her horses, or to send photos for a show. Like that was a day. It was a day to do that now. She's also one of the people who was unable to adopt, through no fault of her own, but she just couldn't adopt, um, doing the Facebook. So I was entering her horses by proxy for her because she didn't have a way to, she would mail me the photos. I would scan them and I would enter them for her and I would email her the results. And she just was unable. She was unable to adapt. So that was tricky. And I think I offered to do that for Marianne Dalton, um, uh, but she never we never got to pull that off because she got sick and passed away there. But um, it does give you access to so many more hobbyists. It's the 2020s. Um, but yeah, some people unfortunately weren't able to take that. They missed the boat, unfortunately.
So what do you think today? now, now that I feel that we're moving now into fifth generation, do you think that the model horse hobby in Canada is growing, shrinking, or changing in a different way? And if so, why?
I mean, I don't know if I'm in a place to answer this because I haven't been to a show in 5 years. It's just because I'm immune suppressed and I don't really want to wear a mask and do performance at the same time in reading glasses. But I would say from my experiences of showing online in Canada, I keep meaning to do TOPSA or some of the American online shows, but I'd say in Canada, maybe we get one or two new people now and then, but we're just kind of stable. I would say we're just kind of stable. Um, it's not as if hobbyists get paid to judge shows. They don't. And so I'm not sure how enticing it is to do mail-in show or rather online shows. There aren't that many live shows, as you know, in Ontario, in my region. Luck of the Irish is kind of it right now. Okay, off book here or like off the record here, but what are entries like nowadays for you? Do you think at live shows? I mean,
Uh, a good question. So, off the record, when I was still hosting Toronto Live, we had an influx of people, and we were stable at between 30 and 32 people. And we were stuffed to the gills in the show hall because of this huge influx.
mm,
And I can pretty much contribute that to Elise Davis's efforts with the Toronto Plastic Pony Club of recruiting young people. So we got
mhm,
5, 6, 7 young people with that. When Elise left the hobby because her daughter, partially her daughter aged out and left.
mhm,
Um, on the other hand, Elise faced a lot of backlash with her offers to assist and try to improve the hobby, but didn't quite know the whole historic foundation of the hobby and the way things have traditionally been. So people found that quite insulting that, oh, we need to change everything right away.
hmm.
So she was quite literally chased out with pitchforks.
Oh no.
And so that meant
Jeez.
the Toronto Plastic Pony Club literally collapsed immediately. Victoria
Mm,
tried to take over, but it was a very feeble attempt because it's so much work, right, to
mm,
pick this up off the ground. And with that, the young people were quite literally extinguished out. They went to
mm,
university, they never came back.
right.
And that meant that all those new people that we did have are no
Uh-huh.
more. We have none of those people survived. So
Really? None?
none.
Holy crap.
So that automatically means that now we are lucky to get 17 showers, and 5 of those showers now come from Michigan.
Holy. Whoa.
So,
Okay.
and
So,
not only that, but in the West, from my research and chatting and interviews, the Alberta has officially closed up shop because
oh,
Lethbridge Live has closed. Bobby has retired
Bobby's.
from hosting.
Oh no.
And BC has been out of the game for 10 years.
Yes.
Saskatchewan and Manitoba seem to be relatively growing. Quebec
Hmm,
is now hosting a live show every summer.
cool.
But Maritimes have been silent since
Yeah.
Maritime Madness has stopped. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's different, but I suppose the live shows, the traditional way we view it, has shrunk. But then again, things have changed and people are more on TikTok and watching videos and making
Hmm.
videos. So,
Yeah. One of the bonuses that I've found to the immediacy of the internet is these challenges. The painting challenges or the tack challenges or the doll making challenges. Because it sort of immediately rallies people who can share resources, inspire one another immediately with posts online. And I have to think that will appeal to a certain type of person. Um, but it's, when I hear you say that there was sort of a flare up of numbers and then it tamped down again, that is discouraging. Um, but the other thing I'm really not sure about, you asked about tax doors, Greenhawk. Is Greenhawk going to sell Briars? Are they going to be affordable with the tariffs? I just don't really know if that resource will dry up for driving interest in Briars. And now, Greenhawk was great because they did have their painting and Briar days, but that it concerns me for the future of the hobby. Um, that said, if I'm just showing out of my living room through my computer photographs, I can show in America. But yeah, it is nice. The Canadian shows like the CMH Net shows, those are great because I see many names, a few new names, but many names that I've known for years in the hobby. Some people that have had kids come back to the hobby. Now they're showing online. So that I do feel that there is a slight sense of togetherness online. But as I alluded to earlier, the really memorable moments in my hobby career have been more about, you know, hearing your friends chat and being part of that camaraderie that you get at live shows. So I'm sorry to hear that perhaps the numbers are on the soft side at the moment. Um, yeah, that's unfortunate. I didn't expect that. I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, I mean, there could be a renaissance. Things change, things develop, and like like how in the 60s and 70s the mail order shows, the photo shows like developed and they became a thing. Then people
So
started moving
funny.
people started moving into live showing and but
Yes.
staying with photo show, and then people started moving into online and doing it. Like it doesn't mean that photo shows have completely dissolved, and it doesn't mean that live shows have completely dissolved. It's just changed. So I like
Do
to
you
see it
think
that way.
that it's changing? Okay. Would you think also because the price of everything is inflating? I mean, I did consider coming to the Luck of the Irish this last time, and I got cold feet. But I also had not seen an entry fee like that because just everything's more expensive. It's like, oh, well, that
Yeah,
seems more.
it's rough. The show halls. We don't get $100 show halls anymore.
Yeah.
We don't get freebies anymore. Like it's in the GTA. If you wanted to do a downtown show, Toronto Live used to cost me $1,200 just for the show hall.
Oh, sorry. Was that the one at the university?
Yeah, yeah. That was at Humber College.
That was such a beautiful.
Yeah. And the only way that that was covered, even though it was a $1,200 show hall, was because we had the entries for it. And
Right.
the community center, or the Legion Hall that Alyssa gets
Yep.
starts at $700
Wow.
starts. And that is, and with that, like the entries
Yeah.
that she gets do not cover the show hall.
Oh.
She has to rely on other means like the raffle.
Oh
And
my goodness. Okay.
when you compare that to the US, the show halls are half the price. Or even out west with Alberta or Manitoba, there are show halls out there that are still $200. So it's different. Unfortunately, here you have to get as far out from the GTA as possible to get something. But
Hmm.
even then, I have not seen a show hall cheap enough to be able to be sustainable. So, you know,
That's so weird. Actually, I remember I was playing a gig in Medicine Hat or someplace like that. No, I think it was Medicine Hat. And I knew there was a live show, but I was like, if I abandon the band right now to go off to some live show and I miss my flight, and I was just like, but I was so curious because it was in the middle of Alberta, and I thought, like, I would have loved to have gone. Um, so then the next time that I was playing some gig, I I had a day off and I went to Spruce Meadows, and Bobby and I, oh, that's a good moment. Bobby and I broke into the international ring. I walked up the Devil's Dyke.
wait,
It was
wait,
pretty funny.
you have to tell the full story.
Oh, Yeah, so one of the highlight moments of my model horse life was finally meeting Bobby Mosiman. And we went to Spruce Meadows and we watched the horses jump around. And then we discovered that the international room or the international ring, the big one with the clock tower and the bank and the devil's dyke was empty and there was nobody there. And so we basically walked around the international ring, broke in, walked around for probably about 15 minutes, just like, whoa, it looks so much bigger in person. Wow, this is a really steep bank. Until finally somebody came and was like, ladies, could you move along now? They're so polite about it too, but that was really great. It was great to meet Bobby and to talk about horses and to break in and make our debut in the international ring at Spruce Meadows.
So now that things have changed over time and stuff, from your perception, what do you think the perception of the model horse how do you think the perception of the model horse hobby has changed within Canadian communities?
How has the perception of the model horse hobby changed within Canadian communities?
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, like it or not, I think we do sort of, we are somewhat ruled by our southern neighbors. Uh, and the bar is very high down there. We benefit from, you know, great companies, for instance, the Peter Stone Company or Breyer. But I mean, it seems like we are measuring ourselves against the Americans often, and now the Europeans too, with great Russian tack makers and the Bridget de Burles and the tremendous resin artists. So do do we stack against them? But I think sometimes I know I am kind of drawing inspiration from not from people abroad or from people stateside. They seem to be um, more galvanized to produce more and to expand more and to, really hit the heights.
What
I don't know
challenge?
if I really want that soundbite going out there, but it's like I do feel like we compare ourselves to our neighbors.
Oh, I think that's just natural. I think it's just human nature in general.
Well, I guess that's how you get better, right?
Yeah. Like, oh well, obviously that model's better than my model. I need to improve. I need to like push myself. I like you can like look at it in a competitive way. You can look at it
Inspiration
in an
way.
inspirational way. You can look at it in a negative way of like, oh, those Americans, their dollar is so much better. They have more artists. They have this. They have that. Like, again, I think it might just be human nature just to kind of like compare oneself in general.
But what's
And
our,
yeah,
yeah,
and now there's the whole
how do
issue
we,
with the tariffs and the
I know,
politics, and you can't
I know,
get a
but we
basic.
have healthcare,
We
universal
do.
healthcare.
We do have
Um,
universal health care.
but I don't know what a Canadian would say how they perceive the hobby in Canada. I get the impression that, well, that we're less competitive. Maybe I don't know. I'll just shut up because I don't know. I just, I know, for example, like Lisa, she seems very American to me. She's like a big personality. She makes fast decisions. She has really expensive things. And I think that she's shown a lot more in the States than I have. Uh, and sometimes I can find that a little scary. It's inspirational because she sets the bar high, but I guess maybe I perceive the Canadians are a little softer and kinder and gentler. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that, especially in my one of my last videos when we were talking about model horse shows in Canada and comparing it to the States. That's pretty much what everyone says is that a lot of people are softer here. We collect what we want to collect rather than being in it for the money and the winnings
There you
typically.
go. That's well said.
We have typically smaller collections where but you know what, you know what's so funny is that the camaraderie seems higher in the US
Yeah.
from what I've done my research with is that everyone in the States always goes out for dinner after.
Yeah, I saw that in one of your videos. And it's like, we're like, boom, gone.
Yep.
See ya.
Yep. Oh, actually, that's a good question. So, when for live showing, when you first started going to live shows in
Yes.
person, how did that happen afterwards? Did you go out for dinner? And what were the activities surrounding live shows?
Um, Lots of activities with the shows in if at the Maritime Madness live show. Maybe it's because I was staying out of province, so we would get together and eat together. Like we all rode. Eleanor O'Brien had these horses in her back, and we rode them up the orange colored road. And like I think Debbie took some people to the Bez at the Royal Dalton factory at one point. Like there were things that we did. Like I remember being in somebody's house and we're just hanging out. Oh, I think I was staying with Eleanor. No, I can't remember. It might have been Debbie. Somebody had a pump organ. I was playing the pump organ, Elvis Presley on the pump organ. Like we did more hanging out. The driving shows where you like drive to show and go home the same day, it seemed like everybody's just so concerned with, getting their boxes boxed up and beating the horrible Toronto traffic. They don't really hang the way that we did uh, on those East Coast shows.
Huh.
Kind of interesting.
Oh,
Slower pace of life, maybe on the East Coast?
I don't know, maybe, but I guess things haven't changed that much then in the GTA at least.
No. I, yeah, when I think about it, I'm usually tired because I usually bring all my stuff myself now. So it's like, I gotta load it all up. I gotta drive it home. I've gotta unload it when I get home. So I tend to be, maybe the worst for being antisocial. Like I'm social all day. Thank you very much. I'm done now. Somebody else is trying to get a bus. I don't know. We're very uptight in Toronto, some of us, myself included. Yeah, that's interesting that the Americans will get together and go out and eat. It's cultural, perhaps.
Yeah, it seems to be anyways. It seems to be. And then, of course, the invitation is solely dependent on where what state you're in. So, like when I was in North Carolina showing, you were forcibly dragged. You're going out to dinner. That's it. Like, if you don't want to go, too bad. You're coming. And then in Michigan, it's like, oh, you want to come for dinner? Uh, yeah, yeah, you can come. Sure. Uh, if you want. And you have to like force yourself into the invite, and it's certainly not rude. It's just cultural. It's just a thing. So
Interesting.
yeah,
But you said there's girls that have been coming up from Michigan to the Luck of the
yeah,
Irish?
yeah. And it's so funny because all the Michigan people will have dinner together
That's
afterwards,
great.
and none of the Canadians do.
Yet, when we describe ourselves, we say that we're softer and kinder and gentler. We just don't want to eat together.
Yeah,
Not in
apparently not.
Ontario. I mean, yeah, that's very fascinating. That could be part of it, I'm sure. I'm sure you'll put all of these things together and tie it nicely and neatly together for your video.
Oh, I hope so. Like this is actually legitimately going to be the first video um uh history and recording of for the model horse hobby. We've never had this before because we've had the Mares in Black podcast has talked about some model horse history, but of course US only. But unfortunately that
Right.
was never finished. And then of course there's tons of forums. There was HeyNet, Blab, and
Right.
there's people's websites that may or may not still be working, and paper scattered, but nobody has ever done like a video detailing the history. So Diana and I are trying to kind of break that down into four palatable episodes of the different generations.
Well, it's good to break it up into four. Uh, when did Diana get in? I feel like she's been in horses forever, but she.
Oh, she is came after me. So she said that she came in 2017. I joined in 2014, but she
Oh,
joined in
okay.
2017. And well, I can't give any spoilers because she'll be explaining it in episode
Okay,
one.
fair enough.
But yeah, like she came after me technically, but she knew about the hobby forever ago.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, she seems to be getting more ponies herself, or she's getting them photographed. I don't know. My version of reality is very skewed through a computer screen. But yeah, no, I do think one of these days I'm gonna have to get back into the live show ring. I'm just gonna have to wear a mask because of my lung transplant and like respiratory season. But yeah, I just I love showing performance. For me, it's the place where you can take a horse that maybe didn't cost $3,500 and still occasionally win a class. If you are smart and you know how a doll would sit in the tack and you know where to put your horse, next to the jump, like some stuff, like you stand a chance of using your brain to make a win and the horse cost you $100.
No, I feel that, and Diana and Jen Hardacre came out with championships in the last Luck of the Irish with two much older models, which with vintage. Both of them had vintage tack. Both of them were technically vintage models with vintage tack. So, well, it's completely possible.
Can I do it in a mask with reading glasses though? This is changed. So now I need a mask to go into respiratory season and I need reading glasses because I'm now 48. But yes, I did see Jennifer had like is it the Cadence resin, the
Yes,
Morgan?
nightly cadence.
Yeah, nightly Cadence. Yeah. In a lovely vintage tack set. I thought it looked terrific.
Yeah.
I I don't know what did Diana have?
She had a saddlebred, I think, or a national show horse with a parade set.
Oh, it was the
But
guy with the green pants?
I think so. I can't remember if she had a doll or not, but I do remember the big vintage style studs on the parade set.
Which I think she got from Marianne Dalton, but
She
I
did
could be
in
wrong.
the
She
estate
did.
sale. She did.
That's amazing. Yeah, Bobby was pretty good at making sure that people that wanted things got things. From I have a couple horses from Marianne, which makes me happy because she seemed like my pen pal, who I did get to meet. She would come and hear us when I would play in Alberta, so I got to meet her a couple times too. But yeah, so that's kind of neat, vintage stuff. Could you do that? Could you do that in America? I bet you could. It would, if it's well presented. I don't know.
Well,
You're the one that's going
they
to all
have.
these shows.
Well, I will report back accordingly once I figure that out in full. But next stop is Tennessee. So we'll see. We'll see.
And
But
how are you dealing with the border? Do you just have to write a manifesto of what you're
oh
taking?
man, oh man. So I get this question all the time now. Like, what
Oh,
is
okay.
how is the border crossing? Like, oh my God. And the most interesting thing is there's two things. Is that one, my partner is Asian. So and therefore very much not typical white person. And we always like kind of joke about this and go, oh, maybe I should drive because like you'll get pulled over. Like the Americans won't know what race you are. They probably think you're Mexican and deport you. And he always laughs about that and stuff. So,
Yeah.
so anyways, I drive down, and the most interesting thing is that as soon as we hit the border, there's so little traffic because Canadians are, of course, are not traveling.
Right.
But that has somehow, I don't know, softened up the American border crossing, and because they ask the typical questions of like, where are you going? How long are you staying? And it's like, oh, going to an art show. Oh, what kind of art show? Going to a model horse show. And then when you kind of get into that, they kind of go, oh yeah, okay, sure, whatever. And then they wave you through, and it's so typical, like a normal.
Hmm,
If you didn't
interesting.
know and didn't watch the news, you would think, gee, the traffic's light. And then you do your stuff, you come back, and it's the same story on the way back. And I've flown into the US for work, I've driven in for model horse shows, and I have not noticed any difference except for less traffic.
Well, isn't that interesting? The the I would not have I would have thought they would have been hard-nosed and
But
like,
I find that all the stories are coming from the south. That if you're crossing the Mexican border,
oh,
then you might have a problem. And
hmm,
all the people who seem to be getting held up and seem to have an issue are one, racially ambiguous themselves, and two, on
mm,
some sort of visa.
ah,
And so or a permit, or they're an American citizen with stipulations. So I think that's where the issues are mostly coming from, I guess, from what
mhm,
I'm understanding. But with a Canadian passport coming
right,
from the north, it has not been an issue for
right.
me. But you know what?
Interesting. Let's hope it stays like
I
that.
have 8 other regions to go through, and I will find out.
Tennessee is next.
Tennessee's next. Okay, I have two more questions.
Oh, okay.
So, what do you hope to see in the future for the Canadian model horse hobby? What's your dream?
Oh, Andrea, you should have interviewed me at 9 a.m. when my brain was fresh. What do I hope? What is my dream for the Canadian model horse hobby? I would love it if there was sort of a renaissance of live shows in Ontario. Even if it, like I had model horse shows, I had live shows in my parents' house. Like even if we go small again, like there always will be a small time. If show halls are too expensive, that we at least have get-togethers with people just post-COVID age so we can get together again, maybe have smaller shows, more frequent shows would be great. Um, because I just talking to you, I realize how important the people are. The ponies are very important. The people are probably the best byproduct of our hobby. So that'd be really great to see more of that happening.
And what advice would you give a new collector or hobbyist starting out in Canada today?
Oh my gosh. I would say for young hobbyists getting into the hobby in Canada, buy a couple horses that you like, get your feet wet, join a group online, find out where people are meeting, comparing notes. Maybe the Canadian Model Horsenet, there's conversations online there. Uh, and try and get involved in the community of this, because whether you're making movies with your model horses or painting them or putting them in dioramas or building them tack, this is such an exciting hobby. And it increasingly with youth having short attention spans and looking at their screens, it is so rewarding to do something with your hands and read about different breeds of horses and just do it because you love horses. You'll find lots of friends within this hobby, but just jump in with a couple horses, get your feet wet, and then spread your roots. Meet some friends.
Well, that's technically all of my questions, but do you think I missed anything? Do you have anything to add?
Oh, Lordy. Hmm. Hmm. I mean, you asked about influential Canadians, and I did miss a friend who was then in Quebec, and her name was Kim Carter. And Kim Carter used to have these photo shows, and she was so helpful. I don't know if she'd been a teacher or what. And she kind of backed out of the hobby, but she used to be so supportive. And then you asked her for help, she would, in the nicest possible way, help you to get to a better level. And I just thought Kim was so nice. She had these shows, she had beautiful ribbons she would mail out. She was a sweetheart. I had forgotten about Kim. Um, I don't know where you would slot her, but yeah, Kim was great. And it's funny because when I was looking through stuff to kind of jog my memory to talk to you, I found letters from some of these women that I hadn't thought about in a really long time. Um, yeah, Kim was one of them. Kim Carter.
All right. You don't have a studio page or anything? What do you want me to link you to with the video? Because in the video I'll be putting like of course the thank yous, but in the description I usually link like the person's studio
Yeah.
page or website? How would you like me to link you?
That's a very good question. I usually go by Alex Parker for the hobby, just because I thought it'd be, um, I'm very honest. I was always quite embarrassed about my hobby for people that didn't understand horses or just wanted to demean it. I don't know. I was bullied a little bit as a kid. I didn't want people thinking I was playing with toy ponies, and it sort of is in my adulthood. I still just like to separate my professional name. So yeah, if you tag Alex Parker, it's probably good. Um, I guess I'm just a scaredy cat.
Oh no. I made it like super professional. I put on my LinkedIn and everything of like, like event coordinator, art show
Oh, that's cool.
coordinator. And so when I explain it, people are like, "Wow, that sounds so amazing." I'm like, "Yeah, I play with ponies, but I'm not telling you." Haha.
I always wondered why I was such a, you're really owning it. I don't know why I've just sort of hidden it like it was some like I have a, like some horrible deformity. It's like I play with plastic ponies, but I love them. But there are friends that I've had for a long time that don't know that I do this, and then they come into the house and they'll be like a horse on the piano. By the way, horses on the piano is a very bad idea.
Oh no.
And they'll be like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, that is a briar."
Oh, I have a funny story actually. So I went to Marina's wedding, and I got seated at a table with her friends, and it was I think, oh, actually it was just before the wedding. It was at the bridal shower. At first, if it started first at the bridal shower, so I go. I don't know anybody because I'm the only model horse friend that got invited. So I
Aw.
show up, and I'm like, having some snacks and stuff, and people ask me like, "Oh, how do you know Marina?" And like Marina didn't give me any insights or anything. I'm like, "Oh, I know her from the model horse shows and model horse hobby." And they go, "What? What model horse hobby?" And Marina like gives me like this look of like, I didn't tell anybody." I'm like, "Oh." So anyways, I got bombarded with all these questions. So anyways, the wedding
Oh.
rolls around, and I get seated with her friends, and instantly one of her friends goes, "Oh, you're the one with the model horses. Like, tell me all about it. Everything, every last
Oh,
detail." And
that's refreshing.
it was like, "Oh, huh." So, but I don't know. I just kind of like talk about it very casually, like it's kind of no big deal. And when I find when you kind of do that, people go like, "Oh, that's more interesting than lame," I guess. I don't know.
And I also find it interesting too when you talked about going to the model horse show at the border, you said it was an art show,
Yeah.
which really it is an art show.
Yeah, I think it's transitioned from toy show. Like I suppose in the very very early days people would have considered it a toy show. But I would say it's completely different than the toy farm shows like with the miniature tractors and miniature trains. Like people kind of still view those as toy shows. Or like the ball jointed doll hobby. People still consider those as toys almost.
Right.
But like
But
I
collectibles.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I think model horses have pulled way away from that, and there's models in museums now, like actual artist resins in museums and galleries,
As
and
they or should
as
be.
they should be, of course. But it's kind of like I don't know, we did like this pivot, and I'll have to dig out more of where that pivot happened actually.
I love it. You're always taking notes for your next episode or your next feature.
Exactly.
Well, it is kind of interesting because definitely when I've been traveling, like we were in Paris, so of course we did the Louvre and the Musée d'Orsay, and like when we were standing in the rain at the Musée d'Orsay, there's this beautiful horse sculpture in the rain. It was very rainy. And I was like, wow, that's really beautiful. And then when we were in the Louvre, we saw horse like little tiny the Louvre was such a shit show. There's so many people that we went into like the farthest darkest recesses of the basement. We found this room of all these like prehistoric things and moving into slightly less prehistoric. And there were freaking model horses from like uh, eons ago. And I don't even know the years, but we have been creating models of horses since, you know, I wish I could tell the year. I can't remember the year, but we've been doing this for centuries, literally centuries, whether we have
Exactly.
them, you know. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting how we want to create images of things or representations of things. Were they toys for children? Were they some sort of, did they use it in some, I don't know, witchcraft? I don't know. It's not a new thing, but I like the fact that you own it, and maybe I can learn from that.
No, I don't know. I like I didn't talk about it for a long time. Nobody really knew about it, and then I was like, you know what? I'll just like spin it as this, and like my work knows, like everyone basically knows because it's on my Facebook all the time, and
Hmm.
nobody ever questions it. They just kind of go with like, oh, art show, got it.
Hmm.
So I don't know.
Well, for instance, like Anne Johnson sometimes comes if I'm performing down in her area. She'll come, and I don't know. Like I think I heard the violin player say, "And how do you know Alex?" Kind of like at
Ooh.
the wedding, and she's like, "Oh, from Model Horses," and he's like, "What now?" She's like, "Yeah." So I guess I guess I should just love myself more. That's what I've learned from talking to you tonight. So you're gonna do this in 4 episodes. Do you have any idea how long the episodes will be?
Well, according to my analytics, people don't like anything longer than 15 minutes. So 20 minutes will
Right.
be the absolute maximum.
Right.
The first episode, like, we have so much stuff for second gen and fourth gen. We kind of
Mm.
fizzle out a little bit at first gen and at third
Third.
because first gen, you have a lot of like even though it technically starts in 1950s with the creation of Breyer, there's no photos of this. There's like very little
Right.
history, and there is no Canadian hobby until you hit the 70s. So America is happening with Breyer, and technically you have Beswick, and technically you have Julep, but
Oh,
this
right.
is not
Yeah.
happening in
Totally.
Canada at all. And actually,
Good
Schleich
for
as well.
them.
Schleich is another one who is also around earlier. So,
Now
but
that I didn't know.
yeah, and Mark's Johnny West. So,
Yeah.
so when with the
Who are the
creation,
same horses as the Cindy horses, by the way.
yes, that's true. That is true. And Barbie didn't even come until later. Barbie came in 1971 with their first Barbie horse dancer. So I have found out.
You go, girl. So then the third generation you said was 2000 to 2011?
Third gen is 2000 to 2010, and the
Okay.
reason that we're kind of like halting a little bit on that is because there's um kind of this
Like a lull?
difference. Yeah, it's like a lull. But there's so much happening. It's just that there doesn't seem to be a lot of people who started so that we can find who started in that era
Hmm.
are one still alive and two still part of the hobby and three were doing things then because most of the people that we're finding have started in first gen. They started in the 70s and that's where they're slotted for the video, or they're second gen who started in the 80s and 90s, but we're finding very little who started in the 2000s. And but I mean, we're not actually quite there yet because we're trying to go in order.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
first
Well,
gen,
maybe you'll find
yeah,
them.
first gen, I have to actually get a lot of American content because we cannot talk about Canadian model horse history until you acknowledge that technically the birthplace is in the US. And
Right.
technically all the horses were being like the horses that we see today, a lot of them were created in the US. And the artists were American. And this is how it happened. And then you kind of see the blossoming of it from there. And
I
then we
totally
kind of get
forgot.
into it.
Yeah. Well, I totally forgot to about Canadian stuff in Canada and Raven's model. I can't
Yes,
think.
Raven. I don't know technically when Raven starts. I'm not sure if
I
she's
should have
skipped
mentioned her
into.
when you were asking about the Canadian thumbprint. I might have mentioned her.
No, you
Oh,
didn't. But
fuck.
I
I did not.
of course I know about her. She I don't know when she starts because I couldn't find anything on her website or Facebook page of what the generation she is. But I know that Darren Bernardchuk is fourth generation, uh, technically, because she started post 2011.
Yeah, and I was considering, you talked about people that had left the hobby. And for a moment, I was like, I wonder if she'll find any of those people and ask why they left. And then I was like, no, because that could possibly be dramatic. I mean, I think some of them just had kids and went off and did the kids and then came back after the kids went to university. I know a couple of people like that. But yeah, the controversy you want to probably that can be for the fifth episode where you're like, the dark side of
Oh
Canadian.
no.
That's the one we'll all tune in to see.
Oh no.
Um, if you ever, oh man, it would be so cool to track down Steph Robson or Stephanie
Oh,
Robson.
well, Diana is on it, and she's
Yeah,
so Diana is my like ninja, and because she's so good at a fight, I don't know how she does it. I really do not know because
she's
all this
there too.
leg work has been Diana, and
Right.
I had just invited her. I'm like, hey, like. You like history, you want to help me with this? And like she shows up yesterday. We sit for 7 hours compiling history, and she has this
Wow.
stacked notebook of all these notes and all these people. And I'm like, Diana, I have
Holy,
no idea who this person is. I have absolutely no idea. And she's like tracing like this person's connected to this person, person's connected to this person. It just so happens that I knew the grandmother twice removed of this person. And I'm like,
holy crap.
what? So yes, Steph Robson
How is
is one
weird.
person that she has a lead on, and she's hunting down.
I tried Googling her and I was like, there's nothing. But was it Diana thought that she was a barrel racer?
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be interesting.
I have absolutely no idea. So she's looking and trying to find out, but yes, she's kind of like she's doing surveys, and Kim Fiddler is now the you probably already know is going to be the new um
Editor?
editor for C what is CMC and R. So
Yeah, the Canadian Model Express, their magazine.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she's actually kind of in on this because she's going to be doing a big expose, I believe, on history. So
Okay, so you're
she's dipping into the exact same pool, and she's in my Google Drive, so she can steal whatever she
nice.
wants.
More for the party.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, and I feel like that club is having are they like 49 or 50 this year or something? I don't know. It
Yes,
makes me
something like
feel
that.
old. So this is very timely that you're doing all of this. And also, we need to, the Canadian element needs to be played up, especially now. It's such a strange place, the world. But yeah, good for you for doing all of this work because you mentioned it's a lot of work to put on live shows or to have plastic pony clubs or any of that, but it's a huge thing for you to do these videos, and I just think it's terrific.
Well, somebody has to write all the history down, and in this case, talk about it.
What is your education in?
I I have a fine arts bachelor from OCAD, of which I
Oh,
have done nothing with, and I have an MBA from Queen's.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I thought you were going to have some agricultural in there as well.
Nope, nope,
Why
nope.
not?
That's all just anecdotal, picked up with the horses kind of thing.
Right. And you've always been into horses. I'm assuming.
I was originally a city person. I don't want to
Yeah.
admit it, but yeah, it was. I have a C2 in Pony Club, if that counts.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I somehow skipped the pony club. I would have loved to have done that stuff. And I don't live that far from OCAD, and I didn't get into OCAD. So I flunked out of art and art history. I got really sick and dropped out, but
Mhm.
and then became a jazz singer. But I've always loved horses, and I'm stuck living in the city. But I love my husband very much, and so this is where we live. I'm not a city person. But he's like, but you're not a country person. And I was like, what do you mean I'm not a country person? He's like, okay, Alex, what if like the sink broke in a barn? I was like, yes. He's like, what could you fix it? And I was like, no, I couldn't fix it. But I mean, I guess I could learn. I'm like, well, why does that? He's like, you're not a country person. I'm like, what? He's like, you have to be handy to live in the country. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
well,
that's true. And there's no creature comforts. Like I haven't had delivery, like pizza delivery in years and
not
years
even
and years.
pizza.
Not even pizza. I get Amazon, which is very exciting, but that's it. And my feed gets delivered, but that's it. But like my partner, like when I he used to live in Scarborough, so he was a city person as well. And
Yep.
I used to go over to his place and he'd be like, "Oh, what do you want for dinner?" I'm like, "Oh, can we please get something delivered?"
Oh, amazing. How rural are you now?
I am in Bellwood, which is 15 minutes from Fergus, and
Oh,
I wouldn't
okay.
say that Fergus is terribly, you know, sophisticated. So the most sophisticated place that I would probably put is Waterloo, and that's 45 minutes away.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty country. I mean, which is to say, you can't just Uber. I literally the other day, I was just feeling sucky and not very good, and I ordered delivery and it literally came in 9 minutes. And I went,
Yep.
what? This is the future. This is wrong. This is wrong. But my husband's not wrong. I wouldn't know what to do if, suddenly the the pipe burst in the winter in a barn. Um, but I'm also like, but I lift water for livestock every day. I pick up shit. I have photographs of horse shit all over my phone.
Oh,
I'm,
yes.
I'm
Yes.
like, I know like exactly how to ice a leg for how long. Like, how are you saying that I'm a city person? He's like, well, you're not a country person.
Well,
I'm
my
like,
my dad used to
oh,
call himself, because he's a baby boomer. He used to call himself a weekend hippie because
oh,
he had kind of long hair, but he would only like be like a bad kid on the weekend, but then study really hard during the week. So that's why he was a weekend hippie. So
a
maybe, I don't know,
week.
maybe you're a weekend country girl.
I'm a weekend. I don't know what I am. I'm an everyday country girl, except Mondays when the barn is dark. Yeah. So, yeah, but like my day is filled with like, okay, are we up to date on strangles? There's just too much plastic in these shavings. I should I go to bag shavings? When does that allergy shot do for the horse? Why is her eye running? Does this like feel hotter than the other one? Does this poo look too soft? Does this poo look too hard? What time is it? Oh shit, there's a baseball game and a Leafs game. Oh fuck, when are we gonna go to the barn? We're gonna get stuck. It's so much traffic. She needs to get out. They didn't get turned out today because there was a flood. Like that's my life. And so I
Yeah.
laugh when he says that I'm a city person. But yes, and then I think, wow, you can spend $3,500 on a model horse sculpture.
I know. I know. And that's not even counting the shipping. And now the tariffs. Like it's just it's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I wonder. I haven't looked into it, but I will will there be a huge tariff on bringing briars into
Oh,
Canada?
okay. So did you hear about the big controversy of Briarfest?
Nuh-uh.
Okay, so yesterday, I think, or maybe it was the day before, Briar posted that they didn't know if this was going to happen, but because of the tariffs, they are officially going to be raising the prices of the models at Briarfest because, of course, the models are made in China.
China.
Yeah. And so
Oh
therefore,
Lord.
people were pissed because I've already bought my ticket. And now
Right.
you're telling me that this model it was going to be $60 and now it's going to be 65, $70. I didn't budget for that. So it's this
Yikes.
big thing, and a lot of people are pulling away. I mean, everyone always tries to pull away and complains and bitches.
Hmm.
Oh, it's made in China, this and too expensive that, but then they buy the horse anyways. So
Hmm.
I mean, what can you do with that? But this could be that whole fifth gen gap where Breyer might not be able to get away with their shenanigans anymore. I don't know.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 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 different fallouts from this new presidential regime is, or this renewed presidential regime is, yeah, I don't think we even imagined. But yeah, that's, I had not heard that, because
Yeah,
of course
well, it's
they're
new.
all made, but they used to be made in America.
They used to be, and Peter Stone still is, but Peter Stone, because people expect living wages in America, and
Right, right.
in China, like a living wage is like you have a very very nice quality of life at $9 US per day. Very
Oh
nice with
gosh.
delivery with in like 5 seconds. Like I think China's living in like 2050 at this point. Like it's a beautiful place, but uh like it the quality of life is a lot better for a lower dollar. So
Hmm.
so when you want to
Bring
have
it back
your
here.
yeah, you want to manufacture here, and in some states, depending on the state we're talking about, you could be talking about a $7 minimum wage versus a $20 minimum wage. Then that's going to put a huge impact on production costs and overhead costs, and then final product costs, et cetera, et cetera. So and that's why like Peter Stone is so expensive. It's not just the
Hmm.
DAWs that you like
Yeah.
you're designing your own model. It's the fact that it's produced in Illinois, which has an extremely high
Cost of
minimum
living.
wage.
Oh,
If you
okay.
compare that to, for example, Texas, I think we're looking at $7.80 or something.
Hmm. I mean, if there is going to be a recession and people are buying less things, maybe, maybe he should make Brayer great again and bring it back to America. I mean, because probably not going to be. And it's funny too, because I was thinking, do I actually need any more of these horses? And the answer is no. I might want them, but I thought, like, will it affect how many they produce? Will they actually have to produce less of them because they can't sell as many of them because people don't want to spend,
Hmm.
$80 where it was, I don't know, that's Canadian. But, it would be very interesting how it does affect, like you said, the entry point for the next generation.
Yeah. But at the same time, then you can argue, but model horses are so much cheaper and so much more available because all you have to do is buy a file online, go to your
Oh,
local library and spend
3D
like
print it.
$5 to print, and now you can print a relatively nice, conformationally relatively so correct model horse that you can paint.
But don't they have printer lines on them? I wish I knew more about this.
They've gotten rid of them now.
What?
Everything has moved so fast that 10 years ago my oh god, I'm dating
That's
myself already.
amazing.
When I did my thesis at OCAD, my thesis was to scan a real life horse, shrink it down and print it. And I Maggie was not the first one to 3D print a real life horse. It was me. Because that was
Wow.
before she did Hawkeye, and the results were horrific, absolutely
Oh
horrific,
no.
because it was filament printing, because it was too expensive to do resin, and there was no
Mm,
such thing as resin dip at that point. So but today they're printing really high quality resin micros and
mm,
traditionals with virtually
mm.
zero printer lines.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and they're doing spray coat printing and dip printing, and filament printing is virtually extinct now. It's amazing.
So, is there a version of the future where you can imagine that scenario that you just talked about, where people go to a printer and print out something conformationally correct and they completely bypass Breyer?
I think, I really think that as a business, because I have tried to work with Breyer with my company multiple times, and they're so obnoxious about things.
Hmm.
I've worked with them as a volunteer. I've worked with them, like I've gone to trade shows to talk to their distributors, and they're so in their own world, and they really think they're untouchable,
Hmm.
truly untouchable, and then nobody can dethrone them. And when Copper Fox came in, they
Yes.
literally squashed them. They threatened them. They sent them legal letters,
Extreme.
and they forced them out of business. And the only reason Peter Stone was not demolished was because, of course,
Yeah,
Peter Stone himself was a Briar Legacy, but also
right.
because they were not a direct competitor, because they were doing mostly small runs of designer horse, and they were not in retail. But when uh, other brands try to compete, they kill them, and they don't care about the prices anymore, and they don't care about the connection of the people anymore. It's all about, well, we're untouchable. So yeah, I think people are getting tired, really tired. They're tired of the price. They're tired of the shenanigans. They're tired of the quality sometimes, even though it's arguably better than how it was in the 70s. Uh,
Yeah.
well, because, methods
So,
change, printing changes. So I think
do you know,
Breyer is in trouble.
do they treat artists well at Briar? Do you know?
From what I hear, yes. From what I
Okay.
understand, but they don't necessarily, like, I've never heard any complaints from Lynn or Morgan Kilburn or anything like that, but they're very much on the peripheral of, here, design the horse, sculpt the original, and now we're sending everything to China, thanks, bye.
Right.
Meanwhile, Melanie Miller just got hired full time by Peter Stone.
I don't know Melody. She's Canadian
No,
or
she's
she's
American, but she is in that league of Jennifer Scott and, like,
okay.
Nikki Button, like in that
Okay.
upper crust.
So, and she's on staff now with Stone.
Now, as of I think last week, officially on staff at Stone.
Nice. Wow, that's good. I was very sad, incidentally. You mentioned Copper Fox. I was sad about Copper Fox.
Yes,
And
and they tried to, somebody else tried to buy it and resurrect it, and it didn't work because it's a tough go at trying to do that.
but I mean, they were so unique. They were doing British Isles.
Hmm.
Screw off. And then I get even more sad about Copper Fox because I bought a bunch of them, and like fully a third of them look awful now because
Yeah,
they're chipped. It's like, oh no.
yeah,
Like, oh no, that's your good side. Oh no, it's so heartbreaking. They're quite lovely. I quite appreciated them. I don't know if the judges always appreciated them, but I'm like, I don't. But this is what I mean. It's like about Canadians buying things that they like. I just liked it. It's like the
yeah.
cob. It's like, what is that cob actually doing? It's in this. It's somebody said that it's coming out of a canter into a trot, or it's halfway. I don't know, but it looks very cobby with those knees and that neck. And like my first pony was half Welsh cob and half Arab, and it's like, oh, I have to have that. But yeah, I that was a sad one. But yeah, that's very cool. Thank you for telling me about 3D printing because I last one I had printed was like, what?
Oh
This
yeah,
looks
no.
funny.
No, it's completely changed now. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
And you said it's only 10 years since, oh
Yeah.
wait,
Well,
what?
about 10, oh gosh, yeah. About 10 years. I graduated my bachelor's in 2016. So, yeah.
Well, that's, and I read things about them potentially being able to 3D print organs,
Yeah.
which would be great as a lung recipient. Uh, and then if they use your stem cells, then you wouldn't have rejection,
Yeah.
which would be awesome because it would be your own cells, right? So the reason why we have organ rejection is because the body's like, this is foreign, this is not us, kill, kill, kill. So if you were to I don't know if they're still talking about doing this, but 3D print a kidney, say, and then you use stem cells to give it your own DNA over the scaffold of the kidney is what they had been talking about. Um, but yeah, you're only going to see greater and greater things with technology, right?
Well,
Um,
again, technology's moving so fast now. It's never moved this fast ever before.
I
I
completely
I
agree.
don't think it is outside the realm of possibility that 3D printed kidneys, lungs, hearts will not be a thing. I think it could definitely be a thing.
Yeah, and then that was in the news this week about the CRISPR technology, whereas they can go in and gene edit. Um,
Yes.
there was a baby that was in the news last week. It had some rare disease, and they were able to go in and edit the faulty gene. And it's, I mean, if they could have done that for me when I was, an infant, then I would never have needed lung transplant.
Yeah.
But actually, my surgeon came to one of my performances last summer, and he's like, Alex, it's in the future. I'll be able, because the big problem with organ rejection is mismatched organs.
Mm-hmm.
So you might be the right blood type, but there could be some other mismatching in the gene code. He's like, it's getting to the point where I could take a set of lungs, because he's a lung surgeon, and he said I could take away the clashing gene and just snip it out, and then you wouldn't need to take anti-rejection medication. And I was like, holy, the future is so
It's here.
exponentially exciting.
Yeah. And imagine, like, it's happening now. Today. They're working on it
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's going so fast. And I was just thinking about this, that the first transatlantic hop across nonstop solo flight across the Atlantic was in 1927.
Yeah.
And like that was big, big news. And now we can 3D print, little, it's just amazing. It's crazy
Oh,
how
it's
fast.
insane. Oh, I'm getting summoned for dinner.
You should go and have your dinner, girl.
Well, thank you so much. I'm gonna stop recording officially.